Hello, hello. Our second weekly live. So much fun. Thanks for being here with me. If you joined last week, super happy to have you here again. If this is your first time joining, welcome. Last week we talked about sort of the journey that we take to get to where we are trying to get to as independent service-based business owners. What I wanted to talk to you today about was something that sort of comes up for a lot of business owners, whether they're service-based business owners or whether they are just in business for themselves, and that is loneliness. And loneliness is about a couple of different things. It's about feeling on your own, but it's also about feeling like you're the only one on this journey and you're the only one kind of going through what you're going through, which I can tell you is definitely not necessarily the case. But it's the number one thing that leads to people giving up and like just quitting on this journey, because it feels like we can talk ourselves into this idea that nothing we do works and we don't know what we're doing. We're failing miserably. Yet when you get in community with other people who are doing the same thing, you will very quickly see that they all have the same experiences and that they all have the same challenges. And then it starts to feel less like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, and more like, okay, there's an answer to this. And also, even though it feels kind of crummy right now, this is normal, right? It's that normalization. And that's such a huge, important thing. So working for yourself can feel really isolating. It can feel really lonely, but that's really common. And I want you to remember that it's common to feel lonely, but it's not one of those things where we can name it in the moment and see that that's what's happening. It's one of those things that, looking backwards, once you're in community, you can reflect and see like, oh, that's what was happening, right? I remember, the first time I really sort of clued into this was when I was in a group program, and I was always really kind of a lone wolf, and I would always do things on my own. And that was just how I preferred to be for some reason, because I'm really social and I'm very extroverted. But I would just always, I don't know, it's a mindset thing, right? And then I got into this community of other business owners, and I started to hear their stories. And what happened is I stopped telling myself that, like, the whole story and narrative around you're just doing everything wrong and things aren't working because you just don't have these skills. Here are all these other people who are also having the same challenges and asking themselves the same questions. And I realized I was helping them. And what that started to make me realize too was that I'm further ahead than I thought I was. And when I could listen to somebody else going through something, I realized, hey, I've already done that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've been learning this whole time and I've been experiencing things this whole time. But also, the sort of thinking that they would go through when they were saying, oh, this is so, I suck. I can't do this. I'd be like, wait, no, hold on a second. I was there too, and I've been there too. And that was really validating for me. But it was also like, I felt like I was in community with people, and boy, that can really take the pressure off. It can really change this narrative around. So it really matters that we have connection. It really matters that we have relationships and that we are in some type of community with other folks. And we tell all of the folks inside of our program, like, the 3 pillars of success are commit, decide you're going to do this, take consistent action, and stay supported. That third one, that's all about staying in connection. Stay supported, whether it's through a formal community, whether it's through a relationship you have with someone else, whatever it is, whether you have a coach, stay supported, because that's what's going to buoy you forward, and where you can bounce ideas off of someone, you can get validated, and you can, normalize the things that we go through. Because when we are in isolation, the chances of there being things that trip us up, that get in the way, are so much greater. Think about burnout. we get burned out because I think partially, not just because we're working too much, but we get burnt out because we feel like what we're doing isn't progressing or isn't like in the service of something, or we don't have a grander vision. And so the burnout can come not just from overwork, but it can come from not being able to see your progress. There's decision fatigue as well. Imagine if you're in a group or a community of people who, or you have a, a peer who you can bounce ideas off of. That decision fatigue is lessened because you can get help with talking through an idea. You can gain more confidence with talking through some of the decisions that you're going to have to make. And then motivation, motivation is a big one. And how do we keep our motivation? We keep our motivation by being consistently reminded that of why we're doing it. And our communities can help us. The people we connect with can help us remember why we're doing what we're doing. But also motivation comes from being inspired by somebody else and seeing what someone else is doing and getting the stories that other people are sharing. That motivation can come from, seeing that it can work for someone else. These support networks that you're in, and when I say support networks, I mean it could be something formal or it could be just a relationship you have with a peer. Those sustain your energy, sustain your growth, help you move forward. Um, I did a pretty good job of isolating myself for quite a long time. And I would say it's only even in the last year or two, I have really decided that partnership is what's going to help me grow. And that was always something I avoided because I just didn't want to be beholden to someone else. I wanted to do everything on my own. But my business has gone like this since I have gotten into partnership with other people. And I don't even mean like formal partnerships, but having someone else in your space who can be a collaborator for you, that can, get to know you. And that's the benefit of community, is not that you go once, but that you develop relationships over time. And this becomes like your personal board of directors. So what kinds of support would I recommend that we surround ourselves with? There's lots of different types of support. So emotional support, I'll tell you, in our coaching calls inside of our program, almost exclusively, we do talk about mindset and how we feel and how people are feeling about what results have happened. I would say like the tactical side of business is actually a very small part of what we talk about, even though we're happy to. But the emotional support, the talking to people who sort of quote unquote get it and can help you through what you're feeling about whatever stage you're in, whether it's like nothing's working, I don't know how to make it happen, and I'm a failure. Or sometimes it's just something small where we're like, oh, we had a really crappy customer, or somebody said something to me, and now I've turned it into this really big thing. Well, your community and your support people are there to help you, normalize that and make it less of an impact on you. There's also, so much benefit in being supported with practical and tactical stuff, right? So maybe it's technical support, or maybe it's like, how do I do this thing? Or can I come up with some ideas? The people who really make use of the coaching calls inside of our program are the ones who progress much more quickly because they use that peer group to help them stay emotionally stable, to help them keep their energy up, and to also get that sort of hands-on support where people are saying, this is what I tried and that's what I tried. Also, accountability. If you're interested in the psychology of accountability, go read Gretchen Rubin's stuff, her 4 Tendencies. But accountability comes from different places for each of us. Sometimes it's external, sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's a combination of both, sometimes it's neither. And we're one of those people who are like constantly in conflict with each other, with both sides of us. So accountability can be really, really helpful for some people. And these support networks, these peers that we have, these groups or communities that we're part of, they are there to provide you with accountability if that is something that helps you, keep going. So when you have a friend who listens, or a mentor who has talked to you a lot or understands kind of where you're trying to go, those groups can give you, like, surround yourself with the types of groups that can give you all of this. You want the emotional support, you want the practical and tactical support, you want the accountability, and you want to, be able to hear stories of other people. I find I like being around people who are further ahead than me, because it really like drives me to believe that it's possible. So where do you look to find your communities? There's lots of different places, right? There are groups, there are structured communities that exist already. There are like masterminds, and there are industry groups. And if you're in a professional services, a trade or a specific designation, there are groups out there that, where you can all come together, like a professional association. There's like the Chamber of Commerce. Anyone, even your clients, can be part of your community, but anybody who feels really good for you and is sort of like your people. And you might have to try a few different ones till you find the right community. I know with some of these communities, they're just, I don't click. But then sometimes I'll find my communities where, we're still all friends today after, 8 years. So you got to try and find the right fit for you. And maybe you have multiple communities or multiple relationships for different parts of the kind of support that you need. But I'll tell you, it is a strong fit, and you get into these communities that are like, oh, my people, or you can go in, you can try it out, you can listen, but watch what other people are saying inside of these communities. Like, if you feel like we have this really loyal, amazing fan base inside of our programs community, and it's so wonderful. And like, they form relationships with each other, and they all get to know each other. And then they all develop relationships with us as their coaches and as the community leaders. And it's so strong, and people build that up over time. So go and find, like, go try out all of these different groups. Go to a Chamber of Commerce event and see if you find your people there. But if it's the right space and fit for you, it doesn't make you feel anxious, right? And remember that everybody is in the same boat or has been in the same boat as you. So when you go to these, into these communities, you can't go in there being afraid to ask a question. And you can't go in there like, I have had people come to coaching calls and they're like, no, I'm not going to say anything. That's fine. You can come and you can listen. But at some point in time, you've got to get what you came for, right? So when you sit back and you don't engage inside of your communities, you're not doing yourself much of a favor. So find somewhere that you're going to feel really safe and comfortable to be able to ask questions and to be vulnerable and to all of that sort of thing, right? Maybe that's just like a small group, or maybe it's one person, or maybe it's in part of a bigger community. So when we shift from asking for help to offering value, that's when connection deepens. So when you get into these communities of people, or you get into these groups, or you get into these places where others are that you want to connect with, the more that it's reciprocal and the more that you're offering to others, the stronger the connection is going to be. And people are noticing you. Don't forget, by the way, these are great places to get referral relationships. So people who are in those communities are also people who might refer you out to others. So becoming visible and engaging and getting to know people who are inside your communities is actually a really good business idea. So get in there. Don't just sit and listen. Share your knowledge, celebrate with others, invite collaboration, because you probably have information that's going to help someone else, right? So, I think like when I first went into a community that I, had become part of, and I started to realize it was all like my people, I was just like, it was just very natural for me to engage and to participate in conversations. And I didn't even mean for this to happen, but eventually people were like, oh, she knows her stuff, and referring me out to other people. And some of them became my clients. But I still get referrals from that group like 10 years later. And we're all still friends. And some of them have become my clients, and some of them have just stayed in touch. But when you are visible and you're engaging, it's actually really good for your business as well. So get out of the stage of like, I'm needy and somebody like, I don't want anybody to feel like they have to do things for me. Get in there and do things for others too. And that's the greatest way to get the kind of support and relationships that you're looking for. So, what I want you to do today, these first steps, if you've been out hiding and you've been out kind of trying to do this all on your own, I want you to identify one area where you need support. So what's that one area that's just not, working for you, or you feel really, out of sorts around it? And then reach out to one person or join one group this week where you think you might be able to find that kind of support. So just that one simple action, that can really build momentum. Because when you first step out, it's so easy to judge ourselves. It's so easy to say, oh, nobody's gonna want to talk to me, or nobody's gonna want to, help me, or I'm gonna look stupid because I'm, just starting out. No, most of the time people are just like bringing you in and welcoming you. So take that first brave step and just go start hanging out among people who are doing the same thing as you. Bonus points if you could find a community of people who are starting up businesses that also have some personal attribute that is similar to you. Like, you find your people in these very specific places. That first community I got involved with was run by somebody who had a very distinct personality that we all sort of connected to. And so we all knew we were sort of the same people. So if you can find that sort of layer on top of a community of business owners, awesome. But don't make that all it is. Just go and try, hang out in a few different places, try, see what's coming up, take that one first little step, ask for the help, right? Ask for the help, stay engaged, build those relationships inside the communities. It'll make such a huge difference to how you feel about going around and like figuring out your business all at the same time. Okay. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being here. Drop a comment. Let me know, what does loneliness feel like for you as a business owner? How are you addressing it? Do something about it, because it's, like I said, it's the number one thing that keeps people stuck and keeps people from being able to move forward as a business owner. All right. Happy Monday, you guys. We'll see you next week.